tell Aunt Rhody. What the heck does she even say at the end of that? Go tell Aunt Rhody what?
Go
Everybody's
tell Aunt Rhody that everybody's dead. I think she says dead.
dead.
Dead, I
Of
think.
course they're dead.
But it's
It's
hard.
Resident Evil.
Biohazard Brothers Podcast.
Welcome back, fellow survivors, to another episode of the Biohazard Bros podcast. I am your host, Kenjira80. This is my co-host, Colin255, and we have a huge show for you today. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is on deck. This is long awaited from our first episode where you were real excited to talk about this, right, bro?
Hell yes. It
This
is
is one of your personal favorites.
one of my personal favorites, yep. And
Right.
that's saying a lot considering, you know, how much I like the originals 1, 2, and 3, Code Veronica 4. Like I pretty much gave all them 10 out of 10s. So I consider RE7 just like right, maybe just a touch, like a notch below them. Like it's up there though as one of my favorites. I love it to death.
Absolutely. You convinced me to get it whenever it was on sale on Xbox, the Xbox store a few years ago. And I was apprehensive towards playing it because of the first person's perspective, but you said,
Oh
dude,
yeah, a lot
forget
of
all
people
that, which
are.
yeah, a lot of people were. I was one of them. And much like with Resident Evil 4, I was wrong about the format being differently.
Yep.
The camera angles being different.
Yeah,
It's a fucking killer game.
it
Probably
really
one of the
is.
best survival horror games and
It
Resident Evil
all.
games of all
Yeah,
time.
I think it really is one of the best survival horror games ever, for sure. Like
Absolutely, and it's pretty scary.
it deserves to be in the top 10 of all time.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
And the thing is I was even skeptical of it at first too. Like when the trailer dropped for it, and I don't know, did you ever watch the demo of it before?
No, I didn't see the demo
The
of
demo
it.
was actually pretty cool. Like it's one of the
I,
coolest demos I've ever seen in a game because it didn't have anything to do with the main game. Well, not really. Anyways, you had there was just like I don't want to get too much into
well,
it,
it was
but
sort of like based off like almost like a PT demo, wasn't it? You know,
kinda I guess. But
kind of.
there was like puzzles you had to do, but none of the stuff or pretty much none of the stuff in the demo was in the main game, other than the setting. You were in the guest house place, but
Yes.
where Mia cuts your arm off. But there was the one thing I remember from the demo. Two things actually. One is that every now and then you if you turned a corner into a certain room, there would be a creepy ghost, and she would like just be there for like a second and then disappear.
So
And it
was
was
that supposed to be Evelyn?
no. This was like a much more bigger adult female ghost from what I remember. And I kind of
Okay.
remember. I haven't seen the demo in years, so I could be a little wrong about this. And the other thing about the demo was that you got this like hand, like, and it was like this, but it was like a plastic hand, and you could point at it, and people had to. There was like a secret puzzle where you had to figure out. You had to point at 5 different objects to open up the door to get the true ending to the demo. And it was just such a like I never played the demo, but it was such a blast watching other people do it and figure that shit out. It was really cool. But what I was getting at is that I actually was skeptical too. When I first saw that it was going to be in first person, I was like, oh god, what are they doing to
Yeah.
Resident Evil? No, I don't like. I don't mind first person games, but I don't want Resident Evil be in first person. But me being a hardcore RE fan, of course I was going to give it a try, and I bought it day one. And just like with RE4, I fell in love with it within the first like 20, 30 minutes, and I was sold. It was just so fucking good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I was sold instantly myself. I
yeah,
from right as soon as you know the opening, you got the movie, then Ethan's in the his car, he's driving through the swamps, the
to go find
wilderness
his
of
wife.
Louisiana, Right. And then
who's been
right whenever
missing.
you get out and you're going through the woods, and then you see, you come
You get it.
across like the abandoned van, and
Yep.
then you see the mansion with the gate, and it's just it hits all the vibes of everything Resident Evil is right
You
from the
get
fucking intro. And then you're out in the
yeah.
woods and you see Jack
You get a
Baker.
glimpse of Jack real
You
quick.
get a
Yeah.
glimpse of him going by, and then you don't see him no more.
And that's
Oh,
creepy, of course.
you just, yeah, it's so
And by the
creepy.
way,
You
the
just know what
van.
you have in store for you.
Yeah, that van. I can't remember actually because like every time I play it nowadays, I just run right by the van. But I'm pretty sure that van is Clancy and his crew, the recording crew. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I
Do you
think it
remember
is.
this?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's their van. Because you can play those tapes, and there's Clancy, and I don't remember what the other two guys he's with. I don't remember their names because it's been a long. Like every time I play the game nowadays, I don't ever put in the tapes. It's been a while since I've watched any of the tapes in RE7. I
Well,
always
that
skip
tape
them. But
too. The tape was really cool. That intrigued me in
yeah,
and of itself. You have
yeah,
you have to play the videotape. Okay, so when you get into the guest house, once you make it
mm,
inside, you're searching around. You find a video cassette. You stick it into the tape player next to the TV inside of like the living room area, and it plays a video that was pre-recorded by some ghost hunters that are hunting the house because it's purported to be
yep,
haunted. Well, you get to play that out, and then it shows their
so
grisly
cool.
demise. But it's
Yep.
a way, it's a mechanism. It has practicality. It's a mechanism to show where you're supposed to go, into the fireplace, in the hole in the wall.
Yeah, and one other thing, there's collectibles you can do, those little antique coins, and there's
Yes.
only well, I think there might be more than one. There are some that are missable, but the very first one in the whole game is missable. You have to play the tape and I think find a lockpick or something and unlock the drawer in the cassette tape, and then when you're done with the cassette tape, that
The
drawer
drawer
will
will be
be
unlocked.
unlocked
Yeah.
with Ethan, and inside that's how you get the antique coin. But if you don't
Nice.
do
I didn't know
that,
that. I'll have to try that on my next
yeah,
playthrough.
yeah. If you don't do the cassette tape, you don't get that antique coin. So if you're going for all antique coins, you have to do the cassette tape, and you have to unlock that drawer. So that's kind of cool too that you actually get something out of it. Um, as and then like on a first time playthrough you're gonna watch all the tapes, of course, and you kind of have to because I know we're kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but the happy birthday tape where Lucas and Clancy and he where he records him trying to figure out the puzzle, you got to light the
Yeah.
candle on the birthday cake.
Yeah.
um you kind of got to watch that to figure out the solution because Clancy, that's how Clancy dies.
Yeah.
But Ethan
But
watches it,
but
and that's how
Ethan
you're
watches it
supposed.
and he knows
And that's how, and that's how he
the
knows
clue.
to figure it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
how he survives it because he watches it.
this game is, like we said, in first person. It was kind of divisive. It's divisive to people. There are some people, either do you love it? Yeah, I know so many people that are like, "Oh, fuck Resident Evil 7. I'm not playing. It's
Yeah,
not Resident Evil 7." Well,
that's not a. It's not a real
hold
Resident
your
Evil
horses.
game.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
Resident Evil. It's
it
very
is.
much Resident Evil.
It is more
And
Resident Evil
moreover,
than.
it's a good fucking horror game.
Yeah, yeah. Even if you think it's not Resident Evil, it's just a damn good game. Just
It is.
and I'm gonna say this right now. Anybody out there that hasn't played it only because it's in first person, you
Shame
can
on you.
do yeah, well, you can do what you want, but I promise you should at least give it a try. I promise you it's
At
a
least give it a
damn
try,
good
yeah.
yeah, at least give it a try. It's so cheap nowadays. Like, give it a try. Go into it with an open mind. Yeah, you might not like it because it's in first
That's what I
person.
did. Hey,
And,
I hated the idea of it at
yeah,
first, and you
Kenjira
talked
did
me into
that.
it.
Yeah, Kenjira went into it with an open mind. He didn't like the fact that it was in first person, and he went into it with an open mind. And you loved it, right?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
absolutely loved
So
it.
much so that I bought it twice. I bought it for Xbox, and then I bought it
There you
again for my
go.
PlayStation.
I'm telling you guys out there, everybody out there
And a
who
game
says,
has to be good for me to want to buy it twice.
yeah, yeah, for sure, it's well worth playing. I know. There's no Leon or Jill. Like, you don't get to play as any of the main four. You get dorky Ethan, but and some people don't like that also. But I promise you, it's worth it if you can get it
Yeah,
for free or
absolutely.
for cheap. Give it a try. Give it
Give
a
it a
try.
try.
And if you don't like it, you don't like it. Then you don't ever have to play it again. But I
We
think,
stand behind this game.
yeah,
We. I know we say we love every Resident Evil game. No, believe me, there's some that
we
we like
do.
less than. But this is definitely one of them games that's in. We're not going to rank it yet. We'll wait to the end, but it's up there. The game is what Resident Evil is. It is in a single setting in a home for the most part. It does have a third. It has a first, second, and third act. The third act, some people believe, falls off. I don't have a problem with the third act, but we'll get to
I
that.
don't have a problem with either,
It's
but it does kind of fall off.
it's a
Like
single
it's not as good
setting.
as the first half. That's for
It's a
sure.
basic haunted mansion like the original.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
boy, let me tell you
It
what, we're gonna dive into this. You start off in a guest house. You are searching for your wife as this character, Ethan Winters. She's
missing for
gone
three
missing,
years.
and she allegedly contacts him with a video, and he goes in search of her, and he stumbles upon this the Baker estate in what Dulvey, Louisiana, fictional Dulvey,
Yep.
Louisiana, and you you start off in a guest house where you got to free Mia from the basement. She's chained up, but what's going on with Mia? I'm gonna let you
She,
explain it,
she, she,
Colin.
she's yeah, she's acting a little weird. When you find
Mm-hmm.
her, she one of the first things she says is well, Ethan tells her that she's been missing for 3 years, and she's like, no, that can't be. And he's like, you contacted me. No, no, that can't be. I didn't. And then she starts freaking out, and she says, "Daddy's coming. We gotta hide. Daddy's coming." And Ethan's like, "What the fuck?" Except in his
Yeah,
dull voice. Speaking of Ethan, um, a lot of people don't like him because of how like blah he is. But I actually I like that he's like that because like he's not Chris, he's not Leon, he's not Jill, he's not Claire, he's not experienced with this,
he's supposed to be the
which makes it
everyman,
more exactly. He's supposed to be the average Joe, and that's
right?
what makes
He's
it
not
even
some
more
super cop.
terrifying. Yeah, and it
Hmm.
makes it more scary
And
because he's going up against these freaking freaks of nature that are just in practically invincible, and he's just all
right,
he has is nothing. He has nothing at the start, and he's just an average dude that he's not cut out for this shit. But
he just wants
that's
to find
why,
his wife. He loves her.
yeah.
So
But that
this
line,
game,
"Daddy's coming," is hilarious though.
this game is. I want to circle back to the recording that we scrubbed. I believe the reason why they went with a first person perspective was because I think that's what Shinji Mikami and the developers wanted for the original Resident Evil.
They
I've
did,
heard that
yeah.
before. Yeah.
They did,
And
yeah.
they finally got around to it with RE7. And this was definitely made for, it was made for the VR. It was made for the PlayStation VR. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think that it was definitely catered to that. I really want to get the VR one and try that.
I've
Would be the
never
next way
played
I
it
want
in
to play it.
VR, but I've always
But
said
that's
if
the
I ever
reason why
play
it's in first person.
yeah, if I ever do play a PlayStation VR game, Resident Evil 7 is going to be the first one I do for sure. But I've never played
Hmm.
any VR games before. But
I played a few VR games. It's really cool. I can see how this one would be the ultimate experience to play it would be in VR, and that's why I'm hell bent on playing it that way next. You were saying I should really dive back into it. I'm gonna try to get my hands on a VR one before I do that, and I'm gonna play it. But much like the Wii edition of Resident Evil 4 is the definitive version, in my opinion. I
mhm.
believe that playing in VR probably has to be the definitive version, knowing my
It could
experiences
be,
with
yeah.
VR.
Maybe I wouldn't know.
But playing it normal is an experience in and of itself. Um,
Absolutely, it's
you
so
know,
good,
so
so
if
good.
you play it in VR, I heard like people talking about it, like the fridge that you open up in the guest house at the beginning.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
literally like get down inside of it and look all around in it and see like extra details and shit. Look up
That's
into like
pretty
the ceiling
funny.
of yeah, dude, it's really cool. But
Yeah.
anyway, the regular version of this game is just as stunning. The visuals are stunning. The ray
Uh,
tracing is pretty good. I love the fact that you are in a single setting like Resident Evil 1, and that it's like, it's not globe trotting, it's not like in this place or that.
It
You're
really
in
is like,
a haunted house,
yeah,
and it's got
it
the
really is
craziest
like,
sections.
it really is like the most. It's like it's the Resident Evil game that is most similar to RE1 in a way.
Absolutely it is. It's
Like
why it's like
obviously
the soft
RE2 and
reboot of it.
3. Yeah, RE2 and 3 are obviously similar to RE1
You
for
have
obviously,
themed keys, locks.
but that's in a different way.
Yeah.
RE7 is similar in the fact that you're like in one mansion. It's not really a mansion though; it's more like a house, a big
Well, it's a
house.
plantation. It is. It's a type of mansion, but it's a like a it's like a plantation. It is a plantation house because it's in the deep south. I love the swamp setting. You have
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
guest house, the Baker estate, which is the plantation, the swamps behind it, which is like the which is like the plant house where you fight Marguerite, which would be
Yeah.
like maybe kind of like
The,
the,
the
I don't
greenhouse or
know. Yeah, it's
whatever.
like the greenhouse. But
I don't
I
know what it
wouldn't say
is,
it's
but
like the guardhouse from Resident Evil 1. I would probably say that's more like the area where you go to for the Lucas and that, where all the party shit is set up, Um
what are you saying? Like the Lucas section is like
the
what?
Lucas section, it would be more like maybe like the guardhouse, like the second act.
Oh,
You go into there, because the guard, how the guardhouse is like the second act. You have the first act,
yeah,
second act, and then the
yeah.
third act of Resident Evil. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Uh
makes sense. Yeah. I
yeah, so
agree.
it's kind of like that to me.
If we're dividing
Um
it into three acts, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but the just to get ahead a little bit, here on the game, like the meat of this game, the scariest part of this game, in my opinion, there's Jack Baker. He's a stalker enemy. He stalks you through the first few,
such a great
yeah,
antagonist.
through the first quarter of the game. Then you have the molded, and the basement area is absolutely frightening.
It is first time doing it.
And
It's terrifying.
yeah,
And
uh,
sorry, go on.
but Jack Baker stalking you around in that scene where you meet up with the sheriff, and he's like, you got to give me a fucking gun and get me out of these people are trying to fucking kill me.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like you out
hell,
of your
that's
damn mind.
well, hell, we're getting ahead of everything else, like right from the introduction where Jack comes in. You're fighting Mia after she goes crazy on him. Jack comes in, after you defeat her, kicks you in the face. Welcome to the family, son. And then he
Welcome to
drags
the
you back. You
family,
see him
son.
dragging you back to the house. This is
Yeah,
like a pure fucking horror movie,
yeah.
And then you wake up, you come to, you're tied down to a chair with these psycho hillbillies, fucking who are eating fucking human flesh or whatever,
Well, you're
and
getting
trying to
well.
keep.
First, you're getting your arm reattached because, yeah, we should
Yeah,
actually rewind a little bit.
yeah. Go ahead. It's all right.
When you save, well, yeah, let's rewind a little bit. You save Mia, you follow her out, um, and eventually she goes crazy and you lose her. She breaks through the wall and you lose her. So you go upstairs, you search around, and then you hear some banging from back where you came from. So you go back and you start going down the stairs and you see her slowly crawling up like kind of like on all fours like a spider or something. And then out of nowhere she's just like bam right in your face doing the noise, and then she throws you, and then you gotta fend her off. You gotta defend yourself against her, and eventually, uh, she the reason why she's doing that is because Evelyn's taking control of her. You don't know that at the time at the beginning of the game, but that's what's happening. Evelyn's taking control over her, and that's why she says stuff like "get out" when she's banging her head on the wall and stuff, and leave me alone and whatever she says, and then I've been bad, and then she falls down, and then you have to dick around for a second. You kind of have to walk around her a little bit, and eventually she'll get back up in her evil form again and do her laugh, throw you through the wall, and you grab an axe, and then that's your first battle in the game. You got to fight your wife, who is possessed by Evelyn, with an
Yeah, I
axe.
like whenever he gets the gun upstairs in the attic portion of the guest house, and he's like,
Yeah, that comes
"Okay, I guess
after.
we're doing this."
But the thing is he doesn't know. Like when you fight her, he drills that axe right into like her head or her neck or something like that. I forget.
Her
And
neck.
she's and she yeah, and she's out. And he's like, well, I guess I just killed my wife. Then you go answer the phone call from Zoe, which
Yeah.
is another. Zoe is the fourth family member of the Baker family. She's the only one who has not been infected. She's the only normal
Infected.
one. Yeah, she's the
Yeah.
normal one of the four, and she helps you out throughout the game. But then when you're done with that call, you go back and Mia's gone. She's not there anymore. So it's like, holy shit, that's creepy because you could have sworn you just fucking killed her. But so you pick up the axe, you go upstairs, you get a gun, and then you have a real battle with her. And wait, no, sorry, I did that out of order. When you're walking towards you're in the guest house still, and you're walking to turn the power on so you can go upstairs.
Yeah.
After you put the thing in, because you had the bolt cutters to get the power little thing, and you put the power thing where the room is with the piano, and then when you go back out, Mia's there, and she's like, "Oh, it's okay, honey, it's okay." She's pretending to be all nice. It's okay, I forgive you. And then she turns evil, but you shouldn't have fucking done that. And then she drills your hand with like a
Yeah, she
fucking
goes psycho.
screwdriver. She gets your screwdriver right through the hand,
Then
and then
she
she
comes at
she
you with a chainsaw.
yep. Then she comes with the chainsaw, and it's the first time Ethan's hands gets fucked up. He gets his hand fucking
And
just chainsawed off.
at this point, so he reattaches his arm, or does she reattach it?
Sorry, I messed up my chat thing, or I messed up my screen. Sorry.
What does
Sorry.
she reattach the arm, or does he? I can't remember. He
Uh,
reattaches his arm with a
Zoe
stapler or
does.
something. Zoe
Zoe
does.
does.
Okay.
That's
Oh
what
yeah,
I was
yeah,
getting at. After you fight Mia, which
yeah.
by the way, you have to fight her with one hand
So at
because
this point, because the running theory is that this is where Ethan died, but the mold took over his consciousness and rebirthed him in his
well,
body,
that's
and then.
that's that's RE8 though. That's RE8
But I kind
that
of,
made the
I kind of, in my head canon, I roll with that because like it's the only way that is
That's fair
logical to
enough.
explain how
That's
this
fair enough.
fucking guy can reattach limbs to his body. Because at one point he gets
I
his leg
wasn't a
cut off
fan
by
of
Jack
that.
Baker with a shovel, doesn't he? You,
It's possible. It doesn't. It's not mandatory, but it can happen.
I
Yes.
understand that the healing sprays and the healing elixirs in
Yeah,
this
but
game
it's
are
just a video
are
game. Who
super
cares?
powerful, but I mean, come
Yeah.
on, man. The guy's getting limbs cut off, so he's got to have some kind of like
Yeah.
this molded infection in
Yeah.
him.
It makes
I mean, it
sense.
comes out in Resident Evil Village, which in its sequel spoilers, that I believe that this it's because this dude he dies at
That's
this
what
moment,
that,
and this
that's what
Jack Baker
that's what
kills
they
him.
say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what,
That's what
and
they.
I tend to ride with that. So,
Yeah, it
um,
makes sense. They wanted to make it make sense, I guess, because there probably were lots of people were saying like, "How the fuck is he alive? How the fuck can he do this shit?" Reattach his limbs and shit, and they
mhm.
retconned it in RE8 by just saying he was dead. He's like a molded now, kinda,
Yeah.
so he could just
Well,
reattach his limbs. But
that
anyways,
makes the most sense to me. So let's talk about the centerpiece of Resident Evil 7, the Bakers, Jack Baker and Marguerite
such
and
good
Lucas.
characters.
Yes.
They are
What
they are A plus characters in my mind, except for maybe Lucas. He's more like A minus. But Jack and Marguerite are A plus characters in my
they
mind.
steal the show. This
They
is like
absolutely steal the
if you
show.
want to liken this game to something that's similar, like that most people would know, it would be like if Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Resident Evil, because this family and they weren't really bad people. You know what I
Yeah, no, no,
mean?
no. Yeah. Well, we'll get to that when we get to the DLC. I wanna stick with the main game
Okay,
first, and
all
then
right,
we'll
we'll
talk
get
about
there.
all the
But they
DLCs.
weren't
But
really
yeah,
bad people. But
they weren't, except for Lucas.
they get yeah. He was a sadistic sick fuck.
Luke,
They
yeah, he
get
was before
infected. They get infected by is it Evelyn?
Evelyn. Yep. They
Evelyn,
they
and
find
they
her.
go yeah. They essentially lose like their minds and probably like succumb to this like infection of mold, and then it reforms itself into their images, and that's how they become who they are. And Jack is like he's like kind of like a comedic kind of like almost like Jack Torres at the end of like The Shining, that whole like here's Johnny type personality.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, kinda, yeah.
just yeah, he's
He
like
even
really
busts through
like
the
quirky.
wall. He's also
Yeah,
like Mr. X in RE2
yeah,
remake. He
yeah,
busts through
yeah.
the
He's a
wall.
stalker.
He's a stalker. Yeah, he's
So and
he's a very threatening
there's
villain.
Now there's a scene that really fucked with my head, and that was the garage scene. What I was talking about a little bit ago, where you were talking to
Well,
the sheriff. You're
right.
talking to the sheriff deputy. He gives you the knife. He's like, a fucking pocket knife. What am I supposed to do with this? So he says, "Meet me in the garage." He comes down to the garage. We got to get out of here. And then the next thing you know, here comes old Jack with a shovel and just fucking
Right,
right in the
right through his
fucking melon and
skull.
splits this
Yep,
dude's head right in half. And it kind
yep.
of just slides off, and he falls down on
And
his
it's
knees
so funny
dead.
because it's like such a
Oh man,
cliche. The black man dies first. Why did they have to
yeah.
go with the cliche? Jeez, Capcom.
Well, I mean, it's Capcom.
No, but the cop was cool though. He was genuinely trying to help you.
Yeah. Well, I think he was a little
R.I.P.
skeptical of Ethan at first. You know what I'm
Well, of
saying?
course,
Because
yeah, because you don't know he doesn't know what's
he
going
don't know
on.
this guy. I mean, this is
But
probably a small
he really
town.
did he really was trying to help though. Rest in peace, cop from RE7. He was a true hero.
So then it
But can
proceeds
we
into what's that?
I was just gonna rewind back to the dinner scene. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorite cutscenes. It might be my favorite cutscene in the whole game. I'd have to think about it, but it's just so good. I actually think it's the only time you see Jack, Marguerite, and Lucas all together at once, like in the main game. It's the only time you see them all at once. It's so good. The acting, the voice acting, when you compare it to the earlier RE games, the voice acting that they do and the acting is just so incredibly good. Like miles above any previous Resident Evil game. So good, and their little like mannerisms, like when Marguerite squashes the bug or whatever. Eat it, it's good. And Jack when he gets up, like out of the way, Marguerite. Because he's getting all pissed off that you're not eating your food, and then when he starts torturing you with the knife to the mouth. If you look over to Lucas, he's all like he's getting all excited with like a happy, excited face, like, oh boy, like he gets all like, it's so good, man. And the dialogue, and then the doorbell rings, and that's the cop, and Lucas is like, bet it's that pig again, or I bet it's that cop again, and then Jack's like, damn pigs, or something like that, and then
Yeah.
that's how you get free from that. Because when they leave, also you're sitting next to an old lady, the old grandma, and we don't know who this old grandma is yet.
Yeah.
But it turns
But
out
we'll find out.
oh well, I kind
Yeah.
of
Well,
just said
no.
it,
Yeah, it's
but
okay. You say it. We find
yeah,
out it's actually Evelyn.
it's
She's
actually
been
Evelyn,
posing as the
but
grandma.
but you don't know that until the end of the
Yeah.
game. Although it's kind of obvious. I think a lot of people figured it was Evelyn because I don't know. Anyways,
But
um,
going back to Jack Baker, I like that
yeah,
quirky that after
that
that whole
leads to the
scene,
garage scene.
that whole garage scene, that quirky fight with the car.
It's so cool.
Like I think that can play out two ways. Either like you can really fuck him up with the car, or he like isn't there like, or he can pull you out of it, or is that just like the only thing that happens? He can
No,
pull you out of it and then try.
he can get in the car and fuck you up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
he
can go
absolutely.
multiple
Because
ways.
I remember playing it on. I think because it was so hard trying to get past Mia on normal or whatever my first go, so I started
Mhm.
over on easy mode, and I
Oh,
remember getting
try
there.
her on
Yeah,
Madhouse, dude.
I was trying it on easy, and then I remember in that fight, he never pulled me out of the car. I ended up like fucking him up pretty good in the car and then
Yeah, yeah.
crashing it. But I
It's
remember the next time I played it, he pulled me out of the fucking car, because it was a little bit harder.
Speaking of
So
Madhouse, that's one thing I want to touch up on. The
yeah,
difficulties are so cool. Easy and normal are the same, except normal is just a little bit harder, is all. But Madhouse isn't the same. It's harder, but Madhouse. What's cool about Madhouse is key items are in different locations. Like, for example, the car keys to get in the car. In
hmm
easy and normal, they're just sitting there on the dresser, I believe, or with the table or whatever, and you grab them. But in Madhouse, they're locked. They're in a red like container, and it's locked, and you need to go find a lockpick first to unlock it, and then get the car keys. Another example would be Oh shit, I can't remember what it's like. The crow key or what's the first key you get? The snake key, I think. I can't remember.
I thought it was a scorpion key.
Scorpion key, maybe it might be. I forget.
Maybe.
I forget which
I
one's
don't know.
first.
I don't really remember, but it's
The
one.
first one you get, whatever
The
that
first one you
is.
get.
It's in no, easy and normal. It's in its normal location, but in Madhouse, it's actually in it's in a cage, and you have to use antique coins to get it, which is
Really?
yeah. You have to use antique coins to get it.
I wouldn't know. I don't play it on Madhouse. I don't have the
I've played it a few
fortitude for
times
it.
on Madhouse.
I'll try it.
It's really
I'll try it on Madhouse
interesting.
one day.
I love that they do that. They change up like key item locations and stuff, and enemy locations too. Like
Yeah.
if on easy and normal there might be a room with two molded, but then on Madhouse that same room might not have any enemies. But then on the flip side, another room on easy and normal might have zero enemies, but in Madhouse there might be three enemies in that room. So like the enemy locations like are different in Madhouse also. And of course on Madhouse everybody has a lot more health, especially the bosses. Like you should check out on YouTube. I saw a YouTube video of someone playing fighting the Marguerite boss fight on easy, normal, and Madhouse, and
Hmm.
and and taking count of how many shots it takes to kill her, and it's so much more on Madhouse. Like it takes so many more bullets to kill her on Madhouse than it does on
Oh,
normal.
I could. Yeah, as it should because it's a harder mode.
Right,
Um.
right. Anyways, I just wanted to mention
The
Madhouse. I think Madhouse is how you should do a hardest difficulty. It shouldn't
Yeah.
just be enemies are harder and that's it. I feel like there should be more to it, and I think they nailed it. I think they nailed it pretty damn
Absolutely.
well.
I think that it's a very well polished game. It like I was saying to you a little bit ago, this game is what revived excuse me, this game is what revived Resident Evil the franchise.
Well,
It breathed
I
new
don't.
life into it.
Yeah, that's what I've. That's the term. That's what I've said. I don't. It didn't definitely didn't revive it because let's be
Well,
honest.
it did
RE5 was the highest selling Resident Evil game for the longest time, and RE6 was the highest selling RE game also.
Yeah, but
It
there was a
but
good period
there
of time between 6 and 7 where we hadn't have anything other than spin-offs
Yeah,
for a
and a lot
very
of people
long
didn't
time,
like
and then this
six.
came out with the new engine, and it literally
It
breathed new
definitely
life into the fucking franchise,
it
and it
really
brought
did.
in a lot
Yes,
of new people too that are like younger because they're probably more used to playing like
I
modern
like how you
graphics and
use
first
this.
person type games.
I like how you
You
use the
know,
term that I used. I said that it breathed it brought new life to the series.
it did. It absolutely did.
Yeah, I'm just saying
Um,
I like how you used the same term I used. Um,
not that Resident Evil was floundering, but like after uh the very harsh criticism of Resident Evil 6,
yeah,
this is what it started getting off the plot though, with Resident Evil, what Resident Evil was, and we started
yeah,
morphing
oh yeah.
into like from survival horror to action horror and straight action,
RE6
which
is
is
like
fine.
Michael
So it gives
Bay
something for everybody.
explosions. Yeah, that's
But
true.
7 brought it back to its roots in a big
Sure
fucking way.
did.
And
And
this house,
it was a
I want
much
to,
needed
yeah,
break. It like
this house is the reason why the Baker mansion, like I said, it's in a mansion. It puts the resident back in Resident Evil.
yeah,
You know what I
that
mean?
too.
That's everything to me. That's why themed keys.
Yeah,
Like there's not.
the
I've
shotgun
heard
that you take.
complaints. Yeah, I've heard the complaints of not being like a wide variety of molded. But hey, you know what? That's okay. You don't need like 20 different kinds of enemies for a game to be
Yeah,
good. You can have
that
one or
is a
two.
complaint. Like that
And
mold that the
I
molded
don't see
are the
why it's
only
a complaint.
enemies.
I don't see why it's a complaint.
Well,
You
it's
have
because
the
people say
bakers and then you have these molded.
yeah. Well, they say that like that's it. Like people complain that the molded are the only enemies, and yeah, there are different types of molded. Like
But
I agree with you. I think it's fine. I
not
like
really
the
though,
molded.
because I can rattle off a few. You
Yeah.
got Evelyn, you got the bakers, and there are 3 of them. You
Yep.
got 2 different, or if not 3 different kinds of molded. You got bugs.
No, you got the regular molded. You got molded with the big claw thing that like kind of
Yeah,
uses that as a shield. You
you
got the
got a
like
variety
spider.
of molded. You
You got
got
like the
bugs.
liquor molded that are
Hmm.
on all four. You got the fat
Yeah,
molded.
yeah. You got several
Um,
different kinds of molded.
yeah,
You got insect enemies that are really like they're really
annoying.
shitty,
Yeah,
annoying, and yeah.
that can be annoying.
Um, but this mansion, I really enjoyed its layout. It's not like this. It's not quite like the Spencer Mansion of the original game, where it's like grand and everything's polished and beautiful, or even
Right? Yeah.
the
No.
remake where like it's a little bit more darker, but things still have like a gothic grand feel to it.
Yeah. No.
This
No.
is a
We're in the dirty
decrepit.
south. Yeah.
It's a decrepit
Run down.
ramshackle rundown mansion
Yeah.
with like broken walls, floorboards,
Yep.
swamp, moldy. The moldy basement is absolutely it's
It's
horrifying if you're
yeah.
to the uninitiated. It's like you venture into it with trepidation, watching
It's
your every
terrifying.
step.
It's
It can
playing
be
the game for
terrifying,
the first time is
especially
excuse
for
me is
those who are
absolutely
not
terrifying.
initiated in the genre of survival horror.
Yeah.
Where it didn't phase me as much. I found myself walking cautiously, but it's like every other survival horror game. Once you're used to it, you kind of can just run through it like cake afterwards, especially when you get New Game Plus and you start
Of
getting
course.
upgrades for great guns like the Albert, and then
Infinite ammo.
like that's literally your shepherd. I like to play this game with the Albert. You've often asked people, what do you like better, the Magnum or the Albert?
Oh,
I
the
like the
Albert's
Albert
better.
because you get
If you
more ammo.
if you yeah, if you get enhanced handgun ammo in the Albert, it's the best gun in the game.
Absolutely, but
And
the
and you
Magnum's
and
pretty good too.
you can craft the Magnum is awesome, but the thing is you can't craft Magnum ammo. You barely find any of it. You can craft lots of enhanced handgun ammo. So
I think
that's the big difference.
it's right up there with being the best defensive item in the game is Ethan's hands.
I was just about to say, I was just about to get into that. I think that's one thing people didn't underestimate it. They like uh a lot of people when they first played the game, they didn't use the block like they should have because like
Yes.
they thought they were thinking too realistically like what is blocking going to do? But no, blocking is key to survival. Like when you block, you're literally like instead of doing 100% damage, it's only going to do like 20% damage or give or take something like that. And not only that, but you can find items that increase it even more, like Secret of Defense and Essence of Defense, to make it to where like you're only taking like 10% of the damage instead of 100% of the damage. Blocking is fucking crucial in Resident Evil 7, especially on Madhouse difficulty and in some of the DLCs and stuff.
Hmm.
It's crucial. Like if you know you're gonna get hit, block. Just block. You'll barely take. You won't take much damage, and a lot of the enemies like of the molded will kind of like bounce off of you to give you a little bit of space to get away from them. But yeah, like if a molded hits you when and you don't block, it'll do a lot of damage. But like okay, let me put it this way, like if you let a molded hit you 5 times in a row with blocking, that's probably about the equivalent of them hitting you 1 time without blocking.
Yeah.
Maybe give or take, maybe 4 times. I don't know. The point is that
Blocking is
blocking,
crucial to survival is the
yeah,
point.
blocking really does take off a lot of the damage. Like it really does. It's like
I know that it
it's
seems
crucial.
like, somebody swinging a fucking axe at your arms is,
Yeah,
it's
like
probably a
blocking's not
terrible
gonna do
idea, but
much.
this is a video game and
Yeah,
yeah,
and Ethan's hands are the best thing ever. Ethan's hands and
absolutely.
arms.
And
He's a blocking master.
I think Ethan doesn't get his flowers. A lot of people think this is a dog shit character, but I don't necessarily think he's a dog shit
Oh, I
character.
love Ethan. I
Is
love
he as
him.
memorable as Leon or
No, of
Chris or
course not.
Jill?
No,
No,
nope.
but I like him,
But he's
and
not
he serves
supposed
the
to be.
purpose for the game and the
Like
story that we get.
yeah, like we were saying, he's supposed to be like the average Joe character
Yeah,
because like
he's supposed
if
to be boring and bland
like
because
imagine
most of us are.
if you were playing as imagine if you were playing as Leon in RE7 and he came equipped with like all his weaponry, shotgun, magnum handgun, and he's a badass and he's roundhouse kicking Jack. It's not gonna be that scary. but you're playing
Yeah.
as Ethan, a guy who's
Well,
never
that's
done
what
combat
I
in his
like
life.
about this game. They kind of dialed back like the superhero vibe of being
Exactly,
the
exactly,
protagonist, and left
and that's why
and
I
made you more vulnerable to bring
yeah
the horror back, because you
yeah
were vulnerable in the first 2-3 games.
yeah yep, and that's why I kind of wish I kind of hope they do the same for RE9. I kind of hope we get a new protagonist, someone brand new who's kind of
Oh,
like
it's probably
Ethan.
going to be Leon, man.
That's the rumors, but hear me out. Like I kind of hope it's going to be a brand new protagonist, and he's going to be kind of like Ethan in the sense that he doesn't have any training or anything. But
Hmm.
then maybe like Leon can be in the game also as like a side character, kind of like how Chris was a side character in RE8, which by the way I loved. I loved that they did that, because we got yeah, I know. We'll get to RE8, but
Yeah,
RE8 Chris is one of my favorite versions of Chris. One of
I
them.
I have my beefs
He's a
with it, and we'll get in
badass.
that in the next episode when we talk about
Yeah, yeah,
Village.
yeah, yeah. But that's
I
what
got
I.
my
But
beefs.
anyways, yeah. Let's get
I
back to
got my beefs
RE7.
with this Chris Redfield. Yeah, Chris Redfield's in this game.
Yeah,
I
barely.
I got my beefs with him, mostly only because of the looks of him. I like his
Yeah,
character. In
he
this
has a
one,
good
far
voice.
better.
Yeah,
I don't want to get into a Village tangent, but like it, Chris, we'll get into this in the next episode. Chris is very much the antithesis of who I thought he was. Uh, the character he's supposed to be in Village, because I don't think he would have just shot Mia down like that without explaining it to Ethan first. It's just not in his character. But
that
I
was
know it
kind
was
of
a plot.
dumb.
It was a
But
plot device, though. I
they
get
had to
it.
do they had to do
Yeah,
that
it
to
was a
keep the
plot device.
mystery. To
Yeah.
keep
All
the
right. So I don't
mystery.
want to get into Village just yet, but the
Yeah,
Chris
yeah,
of
yeah,
this
yeah,
game,
yeah.
I like him a little bit better, even though he doesn't look like Chris Redfield. And there was like a running rumor where people thought it was really Hunk,
Yeah, it
or
was so
it was
crazy
like
because
somebody else.
he introduces himself as Redfield, and then he
Yeah.
looks the way he looks. Like there were theories that it actually wasn't Chris Redfield. That's how weird he looks, but no, it
Yeah.
was actually the real Chris Redfield.
So yeah,
Um,
Chris is the only real, like, he's the only real like tie to the original franchise as far as this is concerned. I mean, they get a little bit more into that with the next game, but like this kind of ties it in there. I like the way that they did it. You know what I'm saying? Some people have a problem with it. I personally don't. Okay, yeah, cool. Bring in a legacy character to tie it into the franchise. That's cool. I'm cool
yeah,
with that. And the
yeah.
way he was handled was just fine to me. You know what I mean? It was just fine.
You're
You know what I'm
talking about
saying?
Chris and RE7.
In RE7, absolutely. Of course, he would be
That's
the
how
one to
I
come
feel
in.
about RE8.
Yeah, he would be the one to come in, of course, and like like investigate what the hell's going on. So we get a little bit of like taste of what Chris Redfield's up to in these days, because this is set in the modern time, isn't it? Isn't this set concurrently with the year it was released? The in
Yeah,
lore?
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was. So
yep.
I
And
like that. I don't have a real problem with that.
he was in an umbrella helicopter. That was the other kind of twist.
Yeah, that's
Um,
the you know what, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of the things people don't like about that. But oh, he would never work for an umbrella. Well, this ain't the same umbrella. This is
it's
I don't know.
they
If,
say
yeah,
it in the Not a Hero DLC. It's
yeah,
umbrella nowadays is the only thing. The only thing it is like the name. The name is the only
yeah.
thing that's the same. It's complete. Umbrella is completely different now. The only
But
thing that's the same is the
th-
name.
this leads into like some loose plot, holes, and like that story, which maybe could tie back to like even going back to Revelations, like the corruption of the BSAA, why he would be with Blue Umbrella and not the
Blue
BSAA
Umbrella.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I hope we get closure with that in some form in Resident Evil 9, even though the Winter Saga has been wrapped up with Village Gold
Well, the
Edition and
Winter
the release
Saga's
of the
been wrapped
Winners
up, but
of.
Chris is gonna be like think about it. Chris has been in every Resident Evil game since five, like five,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, and even Revelations also. So
Yeah.
like they're really making Chris like the lead man. I think.
They're trying
Um,
to. They're
Yeah,
trying to. I think
and
so.
and not
But
only that, he was in the first game too.
I
So
feel like though for like a lot of like for so you're either team Redfield, basically you're like the Redfields, or you're with or which includes Jill Valentine, or your team Leon and Claire. Uh, but people tend to forget about, well, it's, Claire and Chris had their moment with uh
Code Veronica,
Resident Evil Code Veronica. So, they're
and
all
their
one
brother and
team,
sister.
but
Yeah.
they're trying to, but I feel like Leon's always kind of just been the face of Resident Evil, especially since the original Resident Evil
Yeah,
4.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wasn't
But they're
saying,
really,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they're trying to.
They're
They're trying
they're
to.
trying.
I think what they're trying to do is lead up to like a closure of Chris's story, even though we kind
Maybe.
of got that in 5. We kind of really got that in 5, but when they fucked up and killed off Wesker. You know what I'm saying? So they're trying to give him a little bit more something to do, but it's not entirely making sense to me what they're trying to do with him. But I do like what they did with him in Resident Evil 7. You know what I'm saying?
I like what they did with them in 7 and 8. But
Yeah, I
let's
know you do.
let's not talk about other Resident Evils besides 7. Let's get back to 7.
Yeah, let's
All
get back
right.
to 7.
So where did we leave off? So you're getting chased
Well,
around by Jack, and
yeah, we left off at the Jack chase.
eventually he you do a boss fight with him, and he gets his chainsaw thing, and he does an Evil Dead reference by saying groovy, and
I
you
like that. I
yeah,
love that.
you fight
I
him
really
with
do
a
love
with
that.
you fight him with your chainsaw, and when you win, you completely like explode the top half of him. So you're like, okay, he's definitely dead now. And
Or
then
so
you
you think, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and by the way, while you're doing all this, you're supposed to be collecting 3 dog heads so you can get to bring them to the front door. And then when you do that, you put the 3 dog heads in the front door, and then you're finally outside. And when you're outside, that's when you go to the trailer and you get a phone call. Uh,
And you start opening up to other areas of the map of the estate.
yeah, that's when you start getting into the bug house where Marguerite's at,
Yes.
because after that Jack fight, you don't see him for a while.
I
Uh,
remember like whenever I was in that the guest house, I guess is what it is,
hmm Well,
where you battle Marguerite. I remember like getting like the lead up to her battle where you got to go up them stairs and shit. I
yeah,
remember like that being like fucking like scary, like
intense because
actually
yeah,
intense.
yeah. Well,
Marguerite is an
it's not a
intense
guest house. The
villain.
guest house is the beginning place.
Okay, so
I
what
don't
this
know
is
what
like
we would
a
call this.
well, it's like I think in the game it was called the other mansion or the other house, where
Something whatever it's called. It's
it's
not
like
a
a
big deal.
greenhouse. Yeah,
But yeah,
it's Marguerite's domain.
but when we get there, there are these bugs, and they're annoying. But what's more annoying are the really little bugs that buzz around these little like circle things, and you have to destroy them.
Oh, the hives.
The hives. I don't know why I couldn't think of the term. The hives. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
really annoying. You get through the first hive though, and the first two, and you go into this like fireplace, and then you find Mia, and she's normal, and you talk to her, and then Lucas comes out of nowhere and snatches her up and takes her away, and yeah, then when you try to leave, you get a jump scare. You open a door, and as you're opening it, Marguerite pokes her head in. She's like, "Stay the fuck out!" and then slams the door in your face, and a bunch of bugs go on the door, and then from this point on, she's going to be wandering around this little greenhouse or whatever you want to call it. So you gotta avoid her.
yeah. So she
While,
has a moment where she's kind of a stalker enemy too,
kinda, yeah.
which is
You
pretty
gotta avoid her
for the brief
because
moment that it happens is very intense.
yeah, because she spots you. She can do some
Especially
serious
whenever you're
damage to you.
rehashing Mia. Yeah, when you're flashbacking as Mia.
So the goal here is you want the flamethrower. The flamethrower is the best thing against all these little bugs and shit. But the thing is one half of the flamethrower. It's called the burner in the game, but it's a
Yeah,
flamethrower basically.
it's a flamethrower.
One half is on one end, and the other half is on the other end with a save point in a backpack. Speaking of which, you can get backpacks to increase your inventory.
I love the inventory system in this game since you mentioned it.
Yeah, I really
I
do.
think it's great.
Yep.
It's very much like the original.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, on Madhouse you get far less though, but I can't remember. I've only played Madhouse a few times.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's not important. But yeah, you don't have to get the burner, but you really should. It helps out for this section. Um, but yeah, you get both halves of the burner. You get the crank, you get the key, which I believe is the crow key. Um, and then you have to do. Oh, there was a puzzle we didn't mention earlier. You know the puzzle where you have to place the object and then kind of like twist it around to match it up on the wall.
Oh yeah, I love those
Yeah,
puzzles, dude.
yeah,
Like
they're
these puzzles
fun.
were really, really fucking good.
I like them.
They
Yeah,
were complex, but not hard enough to where I actually, for once, didn't have to Google answers for the majority of them. Like they
yeah,
were, you could figure them out on your own.
yeah, they're
But
fun.
it took a
But
little bit of thinking.
yeah,
I
yeah.
loved them.
But the first one you do is earlier in the game when Jack's stalking you. But the one you do in the greenhouse area with Marguerite is that leads you to the other side because you can't get to the other side because the bridge is up. Um, so you use the it's like a spider shape, and then you crawl through this like crevice and get to the other side. And when you're on the other side, you go down into like you jump down like into the what's it called? The underneath the house. Like what would you call that? Like the
It's like a kind of like a swampy area,
I'm
like a
thinking
crawl
of like
space.
crawl space. Yes, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm having hard times coming up with terms for some reason. Anyways, uh, there's the crawl space, which by the way, there's a tape where it shows Mia escaping. If you decide to play it, it shows Mia escaping Marguerite, and it shows her going into that crawl space. But you don't have to play that tape to beat the game, though. But anyways, you
Hmm.
go in that same crawl space. That's where you find the crank. Use the crank so that you can get back and forth with ease. And when you get the key, you have to take that crank back to the other side on the right side of that place where you got one half of the burner. Use the crank, get the key, go all the way back, and then you get a second jump scare when you get to the door next to where you found the crank. There's a crow door, and right when you're about to go, she jumps out of nowhere and is like, I told you to stay the fuck out. And she like kind of throws you down, and then you fall through the wooden floor, and then you kind of have a fight with her, like a mini boss battle with her, where she's standing up above and you have to. There's a ladder in front of you, and you got to aim upwards towards her. And if you try to climb up the ladder, she'll just knock you down. I'm pretty sure. So you have to use like you know, well, you can use whatever you want, but flamethrower, the burner works really well. I like to use the shotgun and the burner combo.
Yeah, that's what I used.
And eventually she'll get knocked out and she'll fall down. And when she falls down, that's your cue to climb up the ladder. And then you finally get in the door and you finally find what the ingredients that Zoe was talking about, which we didn't mention yet.
Yeah.
There's two ingredients: the D series arm and head, I think it is. You find one of them, and then you get a call from Zoe, and
Now this is to make the antidote.
yes, to heal them, yes.
Yes.
Um, but
Which is key to the plot towards the end because you
yeah,
do have
yeah,
a
yeah,
choice.
yeah. But one thing I like about the room that where you take that phone call is there's a piano in the room, and when you walk by it and you walk past it, you hear the piano play for a second, but then you go in the room and there's nobody there, and that's kind of creepy. And then when
Yeah.
you get to the door at the end of the hallway, it's locked, and it you clearly need a lantern to unlock it. And so then you're like, okay, what the fuck do I do? So you backtrack back out to where you fought Marguerite, and you look down in the hole, and you notice that she looks a little different. She's kind of transformed a little bit, and you notice her grabbing a lantern. So you jump down, you follow her, and that's when you go into the up those stairs, and that's
Into
when you
the
go that's where you go and fight her.
Yeah, in the greenhouse area.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a tough fight. It's a tough fight.
But
Um,
it's a good fight. It's a good
it's
fight.
I think it might be my favorite fight in the game. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Um,
Hmm. I don't know if I have a favorite fight that I can definitively pin
Favorite
down
boss
because
fight.
I like a lot of them. I think I like Jack. I think I like the Jack Baker second fight, the second round fight, the most because that one's really interesting
What
when
do
he
you mean
comes
by second
back.
round?
This when he comes back and he's like in his second form after he thought he's dead. You know what I'm saying? Towards like the end of
Oh,
the
okay,
second
okay.
act,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah,
like
yeah,
this
yeah.
big giant monster
Big
and
guy,
shit.
yeah. That fight's
Yeah.
pretty good too. I just kind of suck at it because I don't know. I kind of suck at that fight, but it is a good one.
I
But
think don't you have a don't you are you by yourself fighting him or don't you have like Mia with you or something for that fight?
no, no, no. I mean, they're around, but they're not helping you or anything.
So you just fight on your own. I'm
Yep.
just trying to remember. It's been a
Yeah.
minute,
No,
but yeah,
you fight your own on your own the entire game. But once
yeah.
you kill
And that's what I do
Marguerite,
like about this game. That's another, the isolation that you feel like it's getting back to
yeah,
you don't have partner characters and all that shit.
yeah,
It's Resident Evil through and through, and I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It is.
yeah. But yeah.
So
Oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure in Madhouse difficulty there's traps everywhere in the Marguerite fight.
yeah.
Kind of like Ethan Must Die, but only on easy and normal there are no traps. So, but on Madhouse there's traps everywhere. So you gotta like really be extra careful
Oh, like
because
the booby traps with the wire and the
yeah, a
it's
bunch
like
of
do do
different
do do
stuff.
do do do. Yeah.
Yep, yeah. There's a lot of those in Madhouse. I'm pretty sure it's
No
tough.
shit. Yeah. Well, you
But
would know. You played it. I haven't. Not on
once
Madhouse.
once you beat her, you get the lantern. You take the lantern. You go back to that door, and then this is a kind of a creepy part because it's all dark and it's like you're like in a kid's room, but it's dark and creepy. And you pick up a bear, and the bear starts to have
Yeah.
black goo come out of it or whatever. You go into a room with a bunch of dolls, and some of the dolls' hands and shit fall from the roof. And then you go further, progress further, and then it's all dark. And then all you hear Evelyn, "Stay away." And it's just the whole section is just creepy the first time you ever do it. And but of course Ethan's not going to listen to that shit. He wants to get the fuck out of there with his wife, so he continues forward and finds the secret
It's
little
too late for
passage.
you, Ethan. You're already dead.
Yeah.
Which is
See,
like I don't. I have a like I'm trying to figure like okay. So if my head canon is correct, and the proof of that is in the pudding because he sires a daughter with Mia who has superpowers that are mold based. So
Rose, baby, Rose.
yeah, that's proof in and of itself. But anyway, so
So you find the
we're
D
not done
series
yet.
arm.
Once we get out of the greenhouse, we're not done yet. We got to go back to the mansion, and we got
Yeah,
to
after you get the D series arm, you find it in that in the place I was talking about. The creepy little when Evelyn says "stay away," like
yeah
the next room over, you find a secret little like crawl space, and then you get the D series arm, and then you back out, and then there's enemies. I always just run past them all though, and then you're back out, and then you have to go back to the main house because well, actually, you go back to the trailer, I think, and you get a phone
yeah
call, and
get a phone call.
you think it's from Zoe, but it's from Lucas, and
Yes,
He's hilarious in that phone call. Um, but basically, he tells you to look in the fridge, and when you look in the fridge, you see the cop from earlier, all messed up, his head, it's all
yeah,
deformed and
starting to
shit.
turn into a molded head.
Yeah, and it says something about the go to the dissection room, which you've already been to at earlier in the
Down in the
game.
basement.
Yeah, so you got to go back
Yeah,
down in the creepy section again.
yeah.
Um, and you get one of the keys there. I can't remember which one. It's one of the
So you
keys.
get another one of the themed keys.
Yeah, but more importantly, this key leads to two other separate rooms. One that gets you the blue key card, and one that gets you the red. But the interesting thing is the one that gives you, I believe, the red one. It's in Lucas's room, and you can read some diary notes in there. And that's your first real hint that Lucas was fucked up before Evelyn, even before Evelyn came along.
Yep.
If you read some of those diary
Yeah.
notes, like
Yeah, and he was he was given
he's a
he
fucked
was
up kid. He was a
he
fucked up
was given
kid.
yeah, he screwed up, and he was also given, from what I understand, that he was given like a like some kind of like a suppressant to keep him off of Evelyn's radar, which is why he wasn't as far advanced in his progression of infection like Jack and
Interesting.
Marguerite were.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Interesting.
Um oh yeah, that's definitely, like, there was like something that he was given. I don't know who was responsible for giving it to him. I want to say it was,
Well, he's working with this other company that
yeah, it was this rival company, yeah, that, or
um
whoever.
I don't remember what they're called. I think they're just called the company. I forget,
Yeah,
but
the company or whoever they are, the people that
it's
he's
revealed in
with.
the Not a Hero
Yeah.
DLC and stuff. It
Yeah,
goes
that
more into it.
exactly that. Those people right there.
Yeah.
So, let's kind of roll along here.
So once you get the two
After
key cards, you go and use them, and then it's Lucas time
Yeah.
because
So you
Jack
go
and
back to
Marguerite
I
have
call
dealt
it the
with.
party house, cuz
Yeah, it's the party time,
yeah,
party
party time
house.
house. And
Um,
you want to walk us through a little bit of the shit that goes on in there, cuz it's fucked up.
he likes to set traps. There are booby traps everywhere, and every time you shoot one, he has some funny thing to say like, "Woo, woo, that was a close one" or something like that, and then you shoot another one, and he's like, "Ooh, you have got a good eye," and it's pretty funny.
Didn't he
But
like set one of the, like, the previous contestants, as I would call it, the of his little sick game, on fire?
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
he has the
that
pass.
was brutal.
He has the passcode on it. Oh yeah. By the way, when you get past all those traps and you get to the door and you have to input the key, the 4-digit code,
Yeah.
he comes out and he's like, try 0512. No, 07, whatever. He tells you to try different ones. And then he's like, you never know, take a chance. The something a little cool Easter egg here. The sound effects of you inputting those digits are from RE3 original.
Mm.
And I absolutely love that they did that. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
When you're inputting
Yes.
the code, it's RE3
Yeah.
sound effects, and it's so
Yeah.
cool. I love that.
It's a little Easter egg, a callback to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to its roots.
and I love that.
So
And also, if you happen to know the code, which I believe it's 1408, if you happen to know it and you input it, it'll be wrong, and it'll change. It'll
it'll
change
change.
it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you can't. It's impossible to get it right on the
So
first try.
it generates it randomly to make you have to go through the
Well,
trials
no, it's not
to get it.
randomly. It's just that the code is always 1408 unless you put the 1408 in the
Then it's
first time.
different.
Then it's something different. Yeah.
But is it like
Um,
a series of different numbers, so you can't
no,
just cycle through?
the second code is always the same. I'm pretty sure.
So you can just input that code
But then it
and
won't
then,
work though because the code's 1408. So basically, you can't get it the first try no matter what you guess.
oh, I got you.
So you have to go and do all the shit. But
The game's forcing you to do what the game wants you to do.
pretty much, yeah. Speaking of
Yeah.
which, this whole Lucas section, we meet a new enemy. I believe that we meet this enemy before? I don't think so. It's the first time we fight a fat molded. Right, he comes down on an elevator and we fight a fat molded. Um, it's right before you get the password for the you fight some other molded on the way, and then you get to a save point and you get the battery and put it in, and then the elevator starts working and you see a fat molded coming down in the elevator, and it's your very first fight with the fat molded, which at this point in the game, especially, you might as well consider it to be a mini boss because fat molded are definitely the toughest molded, I would say, and they
Yeah.
absolutely have the most health. And another thing I want to bring up is that on Madhouse there are two of them, and one of them's even fatter than the other one. So you have to fight two fat molded at the same time on Madhouse.
Hmm.
Just want to throw that out there. But on normal and easy, it's just one fat molded, and then you kill them and you get the passcode, and then you put it in, and then that's when you go in the room, he locks you in there, and that's you're in the room where Clancy was, the Happy Birthday videotape, and you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah, and if you watch the tape, you know the solution. So,
Yeah, that
so
because
you can,
that part always fucked with my head because that's where they show him getting burned to death. You know what I mean on that videotape.
yeah,
He ultimately he fails.
yeah, you can
So
actually,
those were the guys in the video from the intro of the movie.
yeah, yeah. Clancy was one
Correct?
of the,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah. Clancy gets a
we're
raw deal in
getting
that game, man. Holy shit,
yeah
he
we're
really
getting
does.
into the we're getting into towards like the crescendo of this game. So what like this game ends with like this big massive boss fight like of a big giant molded of Evelyn, right? It's like kind of real huge, and that's when Chris and
Well, that's at
the
the very end, yeah.
Hound Wolf squad come in. Is
But we're
that's
not,
Evelyn, right?
yeah, but
So
we're not there
I
yet.
know that, but all right, so that leads me to my next question. Is that before or after the ship section? I don't really
It's
remember.
at the very end of the game. It's the last thing you do
So it's at the after
after you
you
do everything
flash
else in
back
the
to the
whole
ship.
game. Yep, it's
Yeah.
after everything.
Okay. Because I
Because
remember you playing.
after
I was watching you play it the other day, and you were at that part, but I missed what
the
came
boat
before
section.
it. Yeah, so I wasn't
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was speed running through it. I beat it in just a
Yeah,
couple
that's why.
hours.
Yeah,
So.
that's why I missed the boat section. I was like, wait a minute, did he do the boat section, or does that come after? Because you're fighting the boss, and I'm like,
Yeah,
well, I thought he had to go on a boat. Because yes. So like in the third act, you do go. That is the third act, right? You go on a boat.
yeah.
You go on the ship.
As
Actually,
Mia,
yeah, as Mia, it's the ship that was crashed in the hurricane
and
that
that's that
that
washed
was
Evelyn
carrying the
ashore.
bioweapon Evelyn. Yeah, and then
Yep, and
she
that's how
gets
the Bakers
found.
found him.
That's how the
Found her.
Bakers found him. And so, like we were saying earlier, they were normal people, and Jack was a nice guy, just trying to help this little girl, and he
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
bring her in and help her. And
Jack
she's a
and
fucking
Marguerite.
bioweapon.
Yeah, Jack and Marguerite are the sweetest people ever. But
Yeah.
we'll get to that in the DLC
Well,
coming up soon.
that makes me want to talk about something that really was profound to me
What's
in
that?
this whole game. The scene where Ethan is having the memory of Jack in the mega mycete or whatever it is,
Yeah,
and he was saying, "Hey, we're not bad people. I need you to free my family."
that was kind of a weird scene, to be honest.
That's a very fucking awesome scene.
It,
It
oh, I like
really,
it, but it's kind of strange
yeah.
because it's like, well,
I understand where it could be strange to some people, but it really is like it says everything that you need to know about like what happened to these people in a very
yeah,
clever way. Because
yeah,
the way that this fungus, this molded thing works is it's like it takes the memories of the people and it stores them like data in a computer.
and you
But
just can't, and you just lose control of yourself.
yeah, and then but they're like essentially their essence is within this like this. It's the mega mycete, right? Is what it's called, or is that the
Well, that's RE8, but I
that's
can't
RE8?
remember. Yeah,
But I mean, this is still connected to that, right? You know,
yeah, yeah, it's connected, but I don't think Mega Mycete is ever uttered in RE7 though. So
yeah, I know that, but like, isn't Evelyn a product of the mega mycete?
dude, I'm not the biggest lore nerd on these,
Yeah,
so
well, I think
we'll have to
so.
play RE8
When
again.
yeah, whenever you'll have to play through, you're gonna have
Cause
to probably play through 8, and then
I
before
like
we do the 8 episode
this
and
is
see what
how
we
I
can.
do when I play a
Yeah,
new Resident Evil game. I read all the files and everything, but only the first playthrough. Every time I replay it afterwards, I skip it
yeah,
all. So it's been a
but
while since I've actually like paid attention to the lore of RE8 and 7 and all the
I get
cutscenes
it.
and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that I think okay, so I think that that's the way that's how I think that I think that Evelyn is like a product of this like ancient of this megamycete, this ancient thing, that that's why how it's all tied in. But anyway, that's how this molded works. That's how this fungus works, and these people are trapped in it, and their essence and their soul is trapped in it. And he has this very heartfelt conversation with uh Ethan about them not
Yeah,
being monsters, and it really was like it was like sad. It was real
yeah,
sad.
yeah.
And he tells him, free my family, free my family from this nightmare.
Help us.
help us. So, you know, um, we've basically gone over this whole game. You know,
Well, just about. But there's that the Jack boss fight we were talking about earlier.
well,
It's a
yeah,
cool
let's
fight.
get into that and wrap this one up, and then we're going to touch on the DLC because that is one of your favorite
Yeah,
parts of this
yeah,
game.
yeah. Let's get through this real quick. So basically, you fight Jack again. He comes back. Um, you kick his ass, and then Zoe tells you to heal him, because otherwise he's just gonna keep coming back. So you have two what are they called? Fucking heal things, whatever they're called.
They're it's like a elixir. It's a first aid,
Whatever they're
like
called.
a
You,
potion or something. Yeah,
I can't think of the term. Oh
it's
my
a health
god,
potion.
I'm so off my game today. Anyways, you have two of them. And or Zoe tells you to use one on them, and you do it, and it works. But then you only have one left. So then you go outside, and you actually have a choice to make in the game to give the one left to Mia, your wife, or to Zoe, the person who's been helping you out. Most
Yeah.
people choose Mia, and it is canon that you choose Mia. But if you choose Zoe to heal, you actually have an extra boss fight later on where you have to fight evil Mia again with an axe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of interesting. But most people, I think, choose Mia. Um, and then after you do that, you go on the boat with Mia, and you guys get fucking capsized, and you get washed ashore. Ethan is knocked out and gets dragged away, and that's when you play as Mia. I'm just gonna go through this super quickly if you don't mind. So
Yeah.
basically, you take control of Mia. So you run through the ship, the wrecked ship, and eventually you get to a room with Evelyn, and she's just sitting in a chair, and she's like, "Watch it." She has a videotape, and she wants you to watch it. You watch the videotape, and the videotape is of the past, Mia, um, when the ship wasn't wrecked yet, and you do this section where you have like a submachine gun, and you're trying to find Evelyn, you're trying to track her down and shit, and it doesn't go well. It doesn't go well at all. By the time,
Not at all.
yeah, by the time you're at the end of it, that's she right before the ship gets wrecked. That's where she does her video that you watched at the very beginning,
Yeah.
where it says, "If you get this, stay away." But anyways, the video at the beginning that Ethan finds. Anyways, so yeah, just skipping through all that, you fight some monsters, of course, and whatever, and then the whole thing goes horribly wrong, and then you go back to present timeline, and then Evan's like, "You remember now?" And she's like, "Yeah, I remember." "So will you be my mommy?" "No, Evelyn, I will never be your mommy." Blah blah blah. And then she's like, "Well, then I don't need you anymore." Tries to do a jump scare, and then you gotta save Ethan. So now you're Evelyn or you're Mia again on the ship, except it's wrecked now because you're in the present timeline, and you got to go run around, and of course there's monsters, and you basically got to get to where Ethan's at, and to do that you got to get corrosive to unlock the door. Um, so it's basically just a bunch of fighting monsters, and there's not a lot there to it really. It's a tense section, and I like it. It's just not as good as the first half of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically
I
she
mean, that's
saves
kind of
Ethan.
the par for the course with Capcom with these Resident Evil games.
A lot of them, yeah, fall
Yeah.
off towards the end a little bit, but
I finally figured out. I said I had an epiphany. Remember why Chris Redfield looks so different from 5 and 6 and Revelations to 7
why?
because he left his steroids laying around for Ethan to use.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Ethan does use a lot of steroids in the game, and they're
Yep.
good.
That's just one of the health power ups.
But if you don't know, if people are listening and you don't know what steroids are in the game, they're basically red, yellow, and green mixed herbs, like from RE4. They heal
Yeah.
you fully, and they increase your max health. That's what steroids
Yep.
are in RE7. Anyways, so then she saves Ethan, and she pushes him through the door, because she's about to be taking control of through Evelyn again, and she gives him the thing. I don't remember what it's called. The thing that can stop her, and she says, "Go get the bitch." Then you take control of Ethan again, and this is the home stretch. So you go to the mines as Ethan. But before that, you can listen to the radio. You can listen
Well,
to
isn't that where you get a choice to either you have to save Zoe or you have to save
no
you can
that
save Mia?
that's before all that. That's before the boat section.
Okay.
That's the choice to save Mia or Zoe is literally right
Yeah.
after the Jack boss fight.
Ah, my
Um,
dog's in there barking.
so, anyways, so then we're in the home stretch here. You fight a lot of monsters in the mines. You hear radio talk about how Lucas got away and he's in the mines and shit, which sets up for the DLC. Not a hero. Ethan goes into the mines and basically you just fight your way through and eventually you reach. It's kind of weird, the ending. You reach the house again, but it's like a dream house
Sorry.
kind of. It's like I
was wondering what my dog was barking at in there.
Gotcha. You
I'm
get
sorry.
back
Go
to
ahead.
you get back to after you get through all the mines and stuff and fight all the monsters. You get back to the guest house again. Funny enough, but it's kind of weird because it's kind of like a dream guest house in a way. It's a little weird,
Yeah.
but because it's like all gray and stuff now, and you relive some of the memories you had at the beginning of the game. Um, like when Mia was chopped off your arm or chainsawed off your arm. At the end, it does it again, but it shows that Evelyn was behind it the whole time. By she was behind her the whole time, but you just couldn't see her in the beginning of the game. But you can see her now at the end. Anyways, you come face to face with Evelyn, and Ethan's like, "I'm not fucking around anymore. I got this," because he has the thing that can destroy her, and she actually gets freaked out. And then you get chased by like fake Mias are chasing you, and then you go upstairs and you do the final battle with Evelyn, and you inject her with the thing, and she's like, "I just want to be loved," and then she turns into the big face. You fight her. She drops you, and then Chris drops the Albert next to you, and he's like, "Use it!" And then you pick up the Albert and blast her, and game over. You win. That's the end of the game.
That's the end, and yeah, because Chris comes in,
and then
he swoops in
reveals
on the off the
yeah.
helicopter. That was a good scene of them. That was Hound Wolf Squad coming in.
Or are you asking?
Yeah, that they're called the Hound Wolf Squad. The people he's with, right? Blue Umbrella Hound Wolf Squad. They come swooping in to save the day. Honestly, it's not to save the day; it's to cover up what happened. You know, it's because if you get that file at the beginning of Resident Evil Village and you read it, there was a big cover up. The bakers, there was a gas leak, an explosion, and yeah. So, I mean, which is kind of like out of character for like some of the for Chris Redfield to be working for shady people that would like cover up something like that. But hey,
I gotta say, I kind of don't like the final boss fight though, because it really is just like okay, it's a lot like RE2's true ending, the original RE2 true ending, where Birkin turns just into a big blob. All you do is just run back as far as you can and just shoot away. But whatever, it's fine. Like so it's not bad. It's just kind of like meh.
How do you deliver the injection to her?
You got to run towards her, but she has this power that blows you back, and if you don't block when she blows you back, you get blown back pretty fucking far.
So this is one of the first final bosses where you don't have to defeat them with the rocket launcher.
Nope, no rocket launcher. It's the Albert.
Yeah, it's the Albert.
Yeah, RE7 and 8 both don't have rocket launchers.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Kind of makes sense because this is not Legacy Hero shit going on here,
Yeah, well, the Albert, I'll take the Albert over the rocket launcher even.
I don't know about all that, but maybe.
I don't know. But anyways, the Albert's a sick gun though, and it does finish her off. And then Chris reveals himself. I'm Redfield.
Mhm.
We're here to save you, blah, blah. And then you get the happy ending with Mia. She's safe.
Yeah.
And you fly off in the sunset, and that's the end of the game.
Or
And
well,
I
I
love it
wouldn't
to
say
death.
flying off into the sunset because shit gets even more fucked up in the next game.
Well, they
This
literally,
game,
well, and we're talking about this game, though, and they literally
yeah,
just fly off in the sunset.
yeah,
Cliche.
yeah,
But, and that's the
exactly.
end of RE7.
Yeah,
But,
but
but,
there's more.
there
Wait,
are
there's more.
tons of DLCs. There's a total of 8, really. All right, there's Not a Hero, which was free, and there's one of my favorites. There's End of
I love
Zoe.
that one.
There is Ethan Must Die. There is
Hmm. That's one you play. You speed run the shit out of.
I absolutely do. There's banned footage, which consists of 4. One of them called Nightmare. One of them's called Bedroom. One of them's called Daughters, and one of them's called 21. And what's the eight? What's the 8th one I'm missing? Oh,
Uh,
Jack's 55th birthday.
Jack's birthday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one's a silly one. So some of the DLCs are like actually legit story, like the Daughters and Not a
can't.
Hero and then of Zoe, and
And
then
End
some.
of Zoe, which is one of my personal favorites because I love the fact that Jack
Yeah,
Baker has a brother who's a fucking hard ass,
yeah, we're
who's
gonna get to that.
arguably one of the most badass characters in the whole series. If you want to
Yeah,
argue that, it's down between him and Hunk.
that was actually the last DLC that was released for the game, though.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the End of Zoe. I believe it was the last one. But yeah, so some of them are canon, and then some of them are just silly, like fun mini games. Like Jack's 55th birthday is obviously not canon.
How did you feel about the reveal in End of Zoe that the Swamp Man and turned out to be Jack, another version of Jack Baker?
Being Jack still being alive, I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised with that, to be honest, because
Yeah. That was
I
pretty shocking
mean,
to
it's
me
like
too.
he died like a million times, but it's
He's the
kind of
guy that
sad.
refuses to die.
It's kind of sad that his own brother had to kill him, but it had to be done. He was infected. But yeah,
Hmm.
Joe, let's touch up on each DLC just real quickly. Not a
Sure.
hero, not a hero. I feel like is probably the most important one because you play as Chris, and his goal is finishing off Lucas. So
Right,
you,
who didn't get his just desserts in the main game.
yeah, no, he doesn't. It's in the DLC, which the DLC
Mhm.
was free, by the way. Whereas most of the others, or maybe even all the others, weren't free. But Not a Hero was completely free. You basically just have to go after Lucas, and it's fun. Chris is a badass. He gets some really cool weapons. You get some ramrod rounds, I believe they're called. They're so good and powerful. They're like the equivalent of like enhanced handgun ammo in the
In
what's it
the
called
main game.
in the Albert, yeah, in the Albert handgun. Except they might even be better than that, to be honest, because they one shot everything except for
Nice.
bosses, of course.
Yeah.
And the fat bloated but uh, big fat molded one. But everything else they one shot. Um,
Yeah, that DLC it ties up loose ends from the main game where it seems like Lucas gets, he doesn't get dealt with, and we're left to
yeah,
wonder what's Lucas up to now,
but he does
Well, this
though.
answers that. He
Yeah,
gets his just desserts from at the hands of Chris Redfield.
Yeah, Chris cuts it up to him, and he does kill him. And yep. So that's what happens in that DLC. We're not gonna really get too much into all these DLCs because they're
There's a lot
short.
of them,
Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
but they're
Them-
fun.
they're
They're
all
worth
fun.
the.
I gotta say, out of all
If
the
you're gonna play
DLCs,
this game, oh, sorry, go ahead, buddy.
out of all the DLCs of any game I've ever played, RE7 is probably my favorite because not only because there's so
Yeah.
many, but they're all fun. Every single one of them is fun.
So
A couple of them
I
are
was going to
just,
say, if you're going to play this game to the viewers, get the gold edition.
yeah.
Absolutely, get the gold edition.
Well, yeah. I
So
would
you
say,
can get all the DLCs and try them all
yeah.
out. It's worth it.
They're-
It's more bang for your buck.
Yeah, all of the DLCs are so good. I've actually done speed runs for 2 of them, the Not a Hero and Ethan Must Die. I have really good times on those. Um, Not a Hero, I did New Game Plus speed runs, which is the easiest speed run to do, but it's still hard though, like to get a really good time. I got in the top 5 actually, but I don't think I'm in the top 5
You're
anymore.
not gonna you're not gonna brag about your speed times this episode?
Of course, I'm going to.
I thought you would.
Yeah, and Ethan Must Die is the other one that I speedrun. Ethan, let's get into Ethan Must Die a little bit. It is a
Yeah.
brutally difficult DLC. You start out with a pocket knife, and that's it. And what happens is there are boxes. You have to get to the greenhouse and kill Marguerite. That's your goal. You have to find the
Hmm.
keys and get to and all you start out with is a pocket knife. And it's a bit of a roguelike because there are boxes all around the house, but sometimes they're different every time. Like sometimes the first box that you come across will have a green herb in it, but then the next time you play it, it'll have a shot or it'll have like a gunpowder in it, or the next time it'll be a bomb. It won't even be a box; it'll be a bomb. And the way you can tell if a box is actually a bomb is it'll only have one piece of tape wrapped around it instead of multiple. So it's very, very, very random and very, very difficult. Like the enemies can kill you in one hit if you don't block. It's a very difficult DLC, but the thing is that you get a little bit further every time you play, and eventually, if you play it enough, you will beat it. But it's probably the toughest of the DLCs, and but I just love it to death. And yeah, I have a speed run time of 7 minutes and 38 seconds. I beat it in. That's my fastest
And that's
time.
at speedrun.com. Did you upload that?
Oh, absolutely.
I
I,
figured you
I,
would.
I actually did 7 minutes and 42 seconds 8 years ago, and I just beat that time just a couple days ago, and got by 4 seconds. So my new best time is 7 minutes and 38 seconds.
Nice. Well,
Yeah, it took
congratulations on that. I think I was there for that actually.
yeah, yeah. So that's Ethan Must
Um,
Die. It's really tough.
yeah. Well,
Then there's
let's I was about to ask you if there's anything else you want to say about this game before we wrap this up. So put a bookend on it, and I
wait,
was
say that
gonna
again. I didn't get that.
I was gonna ask you if there was anything else you wanted to add about this game before we put bookends on it and wrapped it up.
Oh,
Uh,
well, I'll just skim over the rest of the DLCs real quick. There's the Daughters
okay.
DLC, which is the origins of Evelyn, and it shows how the Baker family got infected. It's a really short DLC. It's fun though. There's a bedroom DLC where it's basically an escape room puzzle. Clancy has to escape from the bedroom with Marguerite. It's a pretty cool puzzle DLC. There is the Nightmare DLC, which is basically just 5 waves of fighting enemies. It's really fun. There's a 21 DLC, which is one of my personal favorites, where you play cards. Um, you play blackjack 21, but there's a big twist to it, and it's really tough. And there's 3 difficulty levels to it, and it's also really really fun. There's we already talked about Not a Hero and Ethan Must Die. Jack's 50th birthday is silly as hell. You have to go around fighting enemies, but you also have to go around collecting food, and you can combine the food to feed Jack. And once you feed Jack enough, the meter fills up and you win. It's so silly, but it is also fun. And then there's End of Zoe, which is canon. And End of Zoe, I want to talk about because, like you were saying earlier, you meet Joe Baker, gray-haired Joe Baker, and you know what he does? He doesn't need no fucking gun. He punches the fuck out of the molded. He just beats the shit out of him.
Mhm.
He's
And
such
then
a
he gets like a
bad
power glove towards like the end of the
towards
run.
the end of it, yeah. But
Yeah.
he's such a badass.
Very,
For
very big badass character, and I
yeah,
very much enjoyed him and that
just
DLC. It's rather tough though.
yeah. It's probably one of the tougher ones
All these
besides
DLCs
Ethan
are
Must Die.
kind of tough,
Yeah.
aren't
Some
they?
of them, yeah,
Yeah.
they are. But yeah, such a badass, just punching like just beating the shit out of the molded. You don't need no fucking gun. He also fights alligators too.
Well,
But yeah, I just wanted to touch up real quickly on all the
yeah,
DLCs. They're all really good and fun.
absolutely. So that wraps up our Resident Evil 7 discussion for the day. Let's get
Yeah.
a famous call-in ranking. Where do you rank this game on the Resident Evil scale?
I mean, I hate that I just like with all the other ones, this I cannot give it anything less than a 10 out of 10. It's one of my all-time favorite games, ever, not
Mm,
just Resident Evil. If I had to pick like my top 10 favorite games of the last decade, RE7 is might actually be number one. Definitely top three because there's also RE2 remake and RE4 remake that are up there. Um,
nice.
I would give it a 10 out of 10 subjectively, but objectively maybe a 9.5 because it's not perfect. The boat section is kind of a little bit of a it's just not as good as the first half, but for me personally, I would give it a 10 out of 10. And I know I've given almost every Resident Evil game we talked about a 10 out of 10 so far, but that's because I truly do love these games. I promise I'm not going to give a 10 out of 10 to every Resident Evil game. It just so happens that we've talked about all of my favorites so far. But
Well,
once
we
we
got to
get
get all the favorite ones out of the way. Yeah.
yeah, they're not all going to be
Um,
10 out of 10s, I promise, but I absolutely with DLC included especially, it's definitely a 10 out of 10 if you include all the DLC. I have like 850 something hours on this game, so I fucking love it to death.
so I love it to death too.
Yeah, what would you give
And
it?
I want to rank it a 10, but I'm not going to. I would give it a 10
Mhm.
because it deserves it, but I will give it a 9. It's another
That's fair,
9 out of
fair.
10.
That's fair. That's
It's
fair.
another 9 out of 10 game for me. What the only thing that keeps it falling short for me from giving it a 9 is the story, how it devolves towards the end with the ship and all that. It's kind of
Yeah.
irrelevant to the story overall. If they
I,
would have just kept it, like all of just Ethan's story without like all the backflashing and crap and all that, I could see myself giving it maybe another 9, like a 9.5. But yeah, that
I
kind of just
think
falls short for me
yeah, I think more people
in
would
that
agree with
respect.
your review. I think more people would agree that it deserves a 9.
But it
But
yeah, but it
I
does
can't
what
help
it
it.
does
I
good.
love
It
it to
really
death.
does good as far
Yeah.
as like being a Resident Evil game. And I don't want to hear. I'm so people are allowed to have their own opinions.
Of
Listen,
course.
people that say this just isn't a Resident Evil game, and I've heard a lot of people that are prominent in the community even say this, that because it's
Yeah.
just not, it doesn't have the legacy characters and all that. That's not why I'm giving it a 9.
Hmm.
This is a very good Resident Evil game.
It's
It's
very
Resident
good.
Evil in its DNA, and I don't.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel about it. But
It's
yeah,
so
I'll give
good.
it a 9.
To anybody out there, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, to anybody out there who is the only reason you haven't played it is because it's in first person, I highly advise you to
Just give it a chance. You'll play
just
anything else in
give
first
it
person.
yeah, give it a
What's the
try.
difference?
Go into it with an open mind,
Yeah.
and if you don't like it, you don't
Well,
like it. But I
I'm sure
promise you,
most people that are bitching about like they're people that are like have they're familiar with Resident Evil and they're played the originals.
yeah, I played.
Mostly
Yeah,
like
I started with the originals
yeah,
too,
mostly it's
and I love seven.
new players tend to probably jump into this game to get into the series anyway. So,
Yeah,
we want to just end the episode before we go. We want to give a big shout out to Greg
yeah. I
Smith,
was just about to say thank you
the
so much, Greg.
actor who played Barry Burton, for the wonderful gifts that he sent us. He was on the
Yeah,
podcast in episode 4, all right? I believe it was.
yes.
Yeah, he
You
sent
got
us some autographed pictures and goodies. We got our stars cards. Uh-oh.
that was nearly a Colin
Yeah.
sandwich. It says on
Yeah.
there.
Mine's I hope that's not Kanjira's blood. Barry Burton, RE1, Greg Smith.
That's
Thank you for that,
great.
Greg. We got our cards,
Yeah,
our gifts. We love them. My favorite is this. This is what I really wanted. The Barry Burton. Yeah, cool. The card. I love the card. I got my
Stars
card.
ID
We got
card.
it's our we're
Yeah,
official Stars Barry Burton Alpha Team members.
yep.
I really like the dog tag. That was my personal
Yeah, I
favorite.
got
I
one
love
of
that
those
one.
too.
So
And then there's this one with a famous Barry quote. It shows Barry and it
yeah,
says,
and he gives you a
"Whoa,
special Barry
this
gift.
hall is dangerous."
So those of you who listen to this, if you reach out to Greg V. Smith on Facebook, because that's the only way to really reach him,
Hmm.
he's at the first Barry Burton. That's his Facebook page. He'll chat it up with you. He's a very nice guy, and
Yeah,
he has merchandise for sale. Really good merchandise, and every order gets a Barry gift, which is this nice bumper sticker. It's really reflective. I
yep.
like it. Yeah, so go and help
Go
out our
check him
buddy
out.
Greg. Yeah, go
Yeah,
check
go
him
check him
out.
out. He's a very
He
kind man.
he pays for going to cons and doing things with the community through the merch sale. So yeah, go support our friend Greg. Greg, we love you. Thank you for coming on and thanks for the gifts.
Yeah,
Colin,
absolutely.
is there anything you want to work that you're any games you think planning on playing on Twitch that you want to plug before we go?
I am going to be doing lots of Ethan Must Die speed runs like I have been doing lately on RE7.
Right.
I'm gonna do RE8, and if you want to do it with me, we can do some RE6 co-op. But
Yeah,
that's
I'll get my hands on the copy of that game so
because
we can jump on that.
we just did RE5 co-op.
Yeah.
I'm also gonna redo Revelations 1 and 2 soon.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
doing a big RE and Doom, the Dark Ages
Doom's
coming
coming up
out.
soon. Yes,
Yeah,
Doom's coming
yeah,
up soon. So you'll be diving into that. Yeah, I think you're
hell yeah,
jonesing for that game. You're getting pretty
absolutely.
bored with the things you got. So, anyways, we're gonna wrap that up. This is Colin 255. You can find on YouTube at Colin 255. This is where we upload the podcast. Mine's Kenjira 1980 on YouTube. That's where I'll upload my podcast, where you can watch us. We are
Yep,
also on Spotify. Please go, excuse me. Please go to our YouTube channels, to Spotify. Give us a review, leave a comment, like, share, tell people about the show. Word of mouth, that's how we grow. It helps the podcast if you interact and you leave those likes, subscribes, those and sharing the content. We really appreciate those who do,
absolutely.
and those who listen. And we will see you again on the next episode of the Biohazard Bros podcast.
Biohazard Brothers Podcast.